they had the opportunity to take this to so many different worlds. And that's, I think, where I got stuck on saying, this is the movie that Andy watched. It never felt like the big space opera that I thought Buzz would have come from. I thought Buzz would have been a character coming from something akin to Star Wars, which is now under the Disney umbrella. But this film almost has more of a Star Trek kind of vibe to it, where it's a bit more of a smaller scale story and focusing on this one character.
Hello and welcome to the movie podcast review of Lightyear. My name is Daniel, and joining alongside me today are my fellow Space Rangers, Anthony.
To infinity and beyond.
And Shahbaz.
I'm setting my lasers from stun to kill.
And now, who are you going to shoot your laser at first, Shahbaz?
Well, I'm going to blind fire, and if it hits one of you, I think Anthony's pointing at himself. So, Anthony, if I'm going to take you out, I don't need a
Anthony's
laser.
willing.
Yeah, I'm ready for it. At this
Fair
point.
enough.
The only harm I want us to ever inflict is on each other, so that makes sense. It's good.
That's love. That is love, I believe.
That is great love. I like that a lot. Normally, I'd be like, oh, look at the amazing merch that we're wearing today from the movie podcast. But Shay's rocking a Pizza Planet shirt. So if you're watching this on youtube.com/themoviepodcast, love the shirt. I'm wearing a Pixar Animation Studio shirt. And Anthony's just wearing a black t-shirt that says Rude
Boy. For
Rude
Lightyear.
boy,
Oh, you're a
AKA,
rude boy.
AKA Mr. Lightyear, Mr. Rude Boy.
That's his call sign for sure that we did not hear in this movie.
All right, this is Rude Boy going up.
This is Rihanna.
He's a
Rihanna
Toronto man for
Aftermix.
sure, right?
Aftermix.
The movie we are talking about is Disney Pixar's Lightyear. We'll be talking about it very soon. But as always, you can catch a brand new episode of the Movie Podcast every single Monday. And watch out throughout the week for our review episodes just like this one and all the latest movies and series. Make sure you follow us at The Movie Podcast on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and Letterboxd. And don't forget to leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Join our Discord where we're having some really great conversations right now. And write into the show at hello@TheMoviePodcast.ca. Like I said, check out our show notes for all of those links and more. We had some really cool stuff happening on the show in the last couple weeks. So I did want to talk about that before we dive into our spoiler-free review of Lightyear. The last few days, we've had some incredible episodes drop. Like we said, if you thought May was busy, June is just taking it to a new level. So obviously, we've talked about Ms. Marvel and the movie Hustle. We had Adil and Bilal on the show, who are the executive producers and directors behind Ms. Marvel. And we have a lot more special guests planned because this week, you'll be able to hear us talk to some members of the Pixar animation team behind Lightyear. And tomorrow, or if you're listening to this on the day of its release, which is June 14th, we have 3 special guests joining us. So we have the director of this very film, Angus MacLane. We have producer Galyn Susman, and we have Michael Giacchino, who is the composer of the film. And speaking for myself, one of my all-time favorite composers ever. He's been having an incredible year with the Batman, No Way Home, Thor: Love and Thunder, Jurassic World Dominion, Lightyear, and so many more coming, and directing another movie later this year, Werewolf by Night. It's been a pretty cool time to be, first of all, just on the movie podcast and be able to talk to all these incredible people. But it's a real honor to have them. Shay, how are you feeling about all the special guests we've been having, specifically with the Lightyear team?
Honestly, talking to Angus, who we found out was a huge Lego fan, was great because us 3, we love Lego. If you can see in the back of my room, I've got some Lego already set up. Anthony behind him, and same with Daniel right there too.
Yeah,
so
we all have Lego in our backgrounds right now. That's crazy.
We all have Lego in our background, so we're clearly huge fans. So kind of getting that connection with Angus was really cool. Talking to Galyn about that infamous Toy Story 2 story, which you should probably Google it if you don't know what it is already. Great story. And then of course, Michael, like you mentioned, Daniel, he is one of the top composers. He's one of my absolute favorite composers as well. And the best part is he is exactly how I imagined he would be. Just an absolute joy to talk to. What a fun guy. Really, really loved that interview. And I can't wait for everyone to hear this as well.
It's funny because, we talk about that infamous Toy Story 2 story where they almost deleted the film. Our interview with Michael got deleted. So look forward to what happened and how we fixed it on tomorrow's episode with him, because I promise you, it's a funny story. It's a good story, and you're going to want to hear it. We'll tell it on that interview episode. So look forward to that, and look forward to all of the incredible reviews we have coming down the pipeline. There's lots to look forward to on the Movie Podcast. And I know we're not wearing our merch, but we do have official Movie Podcast merch available. If you want to support us, keep the lights and the mics on. That's the best way to do it. We're partnering with our good friends at Bonfire for that. Check out our show notes for all of those links and more. Today, we are talking about Lightyear. This is a Disney Pixar film that is releasing on June 17th, so that is this Friday. It's directed by Angus MacLane, and it stars the voice of Chris Evans as Buzz Lightyear. Now, of course, we know Buzz from the Toy Story films, from all the shorts, and from being one of the coolest toys ever. You may also know him as the character I dressed up as for Halloween one year, and I was called a fat airplane. So if you want to hear that story, that's a story from like 3 years ago on the show at this point. That's a deep cut story.
Wow.
Thank you for laughing, Anthony.
Anthony's laughing like he did it. Like Anthony was like,
Anthony was like,
me.
it was
I planted
me.
that. I went back in time and I planted that.
I was the one that called you a fat airplane, man.
That was me, man, and now here we are doing a show. I was waiting for this movie to come out. it's a really long. You're playing the long game there, Anthony.
It is. Yeah.
I want to say thank you to our friends at Disney Studios Canada for inviting us to watch this film and for partnering with us on the giveaway. So if you did enter our giveaway, it is now closed, and we hope that you get to enjoy whoever won. We hope you get to enjoy Lightyear later this week. Now, Anthony, I'm going to get you to give us the synopsis for the film.
Lightyear follows the legendary Space Ranger on an intergalactic adventure alongside ambitious recruits Izzy, Mo, and Darby, and his robotic companion Socks. As his motley crew embark on their toughest mission yet, they must learn to work as a team to escape the evil Zurg and his dutiful robot army, who are never far behind.
Now, really quickly before we dive into our spoiler-free review, I also wanted to recognize you, Anthony, because you had your tweets thrown into the marketing campaign for this very movie, which is very, very cool to see.
Absolutely wild.
So like we had, we're covering all bases. We had the Batman earlier this year. We are on that. Shay got his quote for Doctor Strange: Multiverse of Madness, and now here you are showing us both up, and you're like, "Nah, guys, I'm going to be in a commercial instead."
Yeah, we just
I
got
know.
little pictures, and Anthony's like, "Well, I guess I'll do a commercial."
I guess I'll be in a commercial instead, which is pretty amazing.
Uh.
And I love that Anthony uses Twitter the least out of all of us, and they're like, "Yes, he's the one." No, it was great.
Dude,
what he said was lovely, so it's nice to see it.
I feel like that guy who just walks in and just says, that one thing, and then it just becomes so popular. I'm just
That's
I'm
it.
the dude in the back. That's literally me. I'm
Yeah.
always the dude in the back. But
That should be your Twitter handle.
the dude in the back.
Dude in the back.
Yeah.
I don't like that. I'm not a big fan of that. It's not a good one.
No, I'm grateful for the exposure and just to have my name on a commercial. It's super weird. Again, it's something that I never envisioned for myself. It is a thing that I would always watch and never really, I guess, inspired to be on a commercial. But when we started doing this was like, and you guys got yours, and like, oh, I want to get mine. Didn't think it was going to be on the main Lightyear
Like TV spot
promotion. So
yeah.
pretty cool,
That
pretty cool.
commercial when people are like, audiences everywhere are calling Lightyear, blah blah blah. Like that's literally what
Yeah.
you got into. You got in me, and that's so
And I
cool.
could put that on my resume. I can check that off. That's something,
You can.
like when Homer goes to space, when Homer does all these things, that's me. Like you've done all these things. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
me.
You've pretty much gone to space. Your tweet has now gone to space if you think about it.
Yeah, that's very true. It's very true.
We just got to keep an eye out.
If
Maybe
you want to
they'll
see my
project it
tweet,
like in Times Square.
go to my page, follow me, and
Yeah.
like my tweet.
Yeah, you can check the show notes for all those links and more in our show notes. Shay, start us off with your first reaction for Lightyear and a bit of your backstory with Toy Story as well too.
For sure. So Toy Story is one of my absolute favorite animated films. It's top 3 for me, I would say. And I Buzz Lightyear was probably my go-to. I had a Woody toy, but I primarily had a lot more Buzz toys. I had that silver Buzz, I had the regular Buzz, and then I had a million other Buzzes. So to finally find out when we were at when we were watching the Disney Investor Day in 2020, I believe it was, and we got that word that, hey, they're gonna make a Lightyear movie and it's starring Chris Evans. I couldn't be more excited, and I really like this movie. I do have some issues with it that we're definitely gonna get into, but overall, this film really took what you love about Buzz Lightyear. It took those classic sayings that he has. It kind of gives you this whole backstory to who Buzz is and why Buzz is in such a beautiful way, while also showing all these other characters that he kind of interacts with. And in the beginning of this movie, it does start off by saying, just kind of like how the marketing's been doing, that this is the film that Andy watched before he bought his Buzz Lightyear toy, before he got it for his birthday. And I think that's kind of where some of my issues lie. But I mean, we'll definitely dive into it. But for my first reaction, I'd say I really, really like this film. I really enjoyed it.
I think when you look at this movie and you look at the lineage of Toy Story and Pixar as a studio, it's amazing that we've kind of come full circle now, where it's like now we're getting not just, it's not really a Toy Story sequel, but you're getting like a spin-off, or like a movie based on the toy that was based off a movie. Right. Like, you know what I mean? Like there's some different layers to it, which is pretty cool. And this movie's beautiful. Like, we know Pixar delivers amazing films. We know Pixar delivers gorgeous looking films, but I think they just keep one-upping themselves each and every time. We had Turning Red earlier this year, which was beautiful. It had its own, a bit of a different art style than we're used to seeing with Pixar, which is awesome. It's cool seeing them go in different directions. And then you have, you have Lightyear, which is just, we're in space. You're having these different environments, and it's just beautiful. And it's just so cool seeing how much love was put into this film, how much they wanted to tell a story that was just, this adventure in space. And this movie is that. This movie makes you kind of feel warm watching it, because it's just a great adventure, and I think that's what it does so well. Anthony, where are you with Lightyear?
Growing up, like Buzz Lightyear was huge. I pretty much have, like Shay, all the Buzz Lightyear toys ever made.
Yep.
And he was a big part of my childhood, because I think it was, when did Toy Story come out? 95, 96?
95, yeah.
95, right? So it was like my first real animated film, and Toy Story, big impact on who I was and why I wanted to get into film and all these creative things that you can do at the time. So I was a little hesitant getting into this film because, I was so attached to Buzz Lightyear. I didn't want this Buzz to take over my love for the actual Toy Story version of him. But
sure, yeah,
I really liked this film. I thought the movie did a fantastic job of telling this Buzz Lightyear story. Like, this is the guy Andy, watches and wants to buy his toy. And the animation for this film is probably the best animation I've ever seen. The planets, the character designs, Buzz's animated actions that you would normally see in Toy Story now taking place in like a real life situation, but it's not, you know what I'm saying? Like, this is the real person. So it was a little surreal at points, but I really enjoyed this film. I thought it was that intergalactic adventure that a lot of people have been looking for. It was action packed. There was a twist that I don't know how I feel about it. There are story elements that I thought could be better, but as an overall Pixar film, this is fantastic. Like, you can't go wrong. Kids are going to love it. Everyone's going to love it. It's one of those Pixar movies that just becomes that timeless story.
Yeah, it's a crowd pleaser.
Yeah,
it really is. And you have a lot of great supporting characters in this. Obviously, this, like, we spoke a little bit about the synopsis, but the gist of the story is that Buzz is going on this mission. It feels, it has elements for a lot of sci-fi space movies, obviously. But we even, like, more recently, if you're a fan of Ad Astra or Interstellar, you're going to get a lot of those notes within it too, especially with Buzz, flying out and coming back in time has progressed. Socks is another character that I want to say is just steals every scene that Socks is in. So I feel like we're just days away from like a Disney Plus series being announced about Socks or something like that, because he's just such a fun character and who's hilarious.
Toy Story shorts.
The Toy Story shorts, yeah, exactly. But let's unpack, because I think we all have definitely some critiques of the film. Shay, I'm going to get you to start us off with some of the biggest critiques that you had for this one.
Yeah, for me, the I think the thing that started it all was when the movie finished. I was happy, but I was a little underwhelmed in the sense that the movie plays it very safe, in the sense that there is really only one planet that they're on and kind of go to from what I recall. It's just the same planet over and over again. It's just time keeps passing on it. And while that's great, it never felt like it broke the barrier. I mean, like this movie feels like it was then shot during COVID, where like, but it's not. It's animated, so they had the opportunity to take this
Animated
world
during
so
COVID.
many. Yeah, it's animated during COVID, but they had the opportunity to take this to so many different worlds, and that's I think where I got stuck on saying, this is the movie that Andy watched. It never felt like the big space opera that I thought Buzz would have come from. I thought Buzz would have been a character coming from something akin to Star Wars, which is now under the Disney umbrella. But this film almost has more of a Star Trek kind of vibe to it, where it's a bit more of a smaller scale story and focusing on this one character. And I think that's great,
Right.
but it's just not what I imagined for Buzz. I also wasn't huge on Zurg. We got a different retelling of Zurg, which I won't really get into because of spoilers. But
Yeah.
it didn't hit the mark that I thought, evil Emperor Zurg would have had. It never hit that point where I was like, okay. And because of that, the story plays it really safe. In the first half of the film, it kind of just keeps going through all the different years. And because these characters, you haven't really spent that much time with them, you don't really get too attached to them. They're just kind of coming and going. And
Right.
it's fine, but you never really hit that mark. And then you have Buzz's Star Command, sorry, his Space Rangers that he kind of teams up with, Taika and all the other characters like Keke Palmer, and they also aren't as interesting or gravitating as you'd kind of want them to be. You kind of forget about them towards the end of the film. I also wasn't very huge on the way that the after credits were spaced out, but I also want to give you guys some time to, speak about your criticisms.
Yeah, for sure. And I think just, speaking really quickly to the after credits, there are three post credit scenes. So stay tuned for that. Obviously, we're not going to spoil anything, but I think the one that really matters for the story and maybe for what could come next potentially is the very last one. So if you're going to go see this movie, make sure you stay to the very end. And I'm talking about after studio logos. Now, you mentioned the team. I did have a good time with the team. I thought they were really fun for Buzz, but obviously Buzz is the lead character, and you anytime we're on screen with him, I want to pay attention to him. I thought they were a decent supporting cast, and like you said, Shay, I just wish that we had more time with the team that he kind of got to this planet with. So they're on this planet, they get trapped there, and they're trying to get back home. I would have loved to maybe have a quick montage. Again, I'm not saying this is what it should have happened, but it would have been cool to see. Maybe we got some more time with Buzz and oh my gosh, what's his partner's name?
Like the commander?
Yeah,
I forgot.
it's okay. I'll pull it up here. But I would have loved to have maybe Hawthorne, yeah. So I would have loved to see like more time with them, maybe in the academy together, a little quick montage before we actually got to this mission that they're on. Because as Buzz keeps, traveling in this film, I was just like, man, like I know he's trying so hard to get them home, and I like that this movie really humanizes Buzz. I would have loved just to have more time with him. Just like I wish the decision for him maybe felt like this. He felt the stakes of it a bit more because every time he was going, you were losing more and more time, right? But yeah, that was the big one for me. And like you said, Shay, Zurg, I wish was a bigger threat that was maybe established sooner in the film, or just had a bit more layers to him in the movie. Again, where this series goes now, who knows? But I think for a starting point, this film is great. But I think there's a lot of opportunities going forward to to tell an even more out there and crazy story, because like I think like you said, this film plays it a little bit safe in some places where I wish it went a bit more Pixar. Let's go for something totally what you weren't expecting. Anthony.
Yeah, I agree with you guys. The story, it seems small scale for a character this big. I don't know if that makes sense,
It does
but
make sense.
it
Yep.
you expected him to be on this huge space adventure, and I think there are scenes in the trailer that really showcase that interstellar light beam, light effect. We're going gung ho into like the infinity and beyond, but you don't really get that from this movie. But that's not a bad thing because the story that was given to us is still an intergalactic adventure. It's still
Yep.
taking place in space, but you just thought the scale would have been grander. And like Shay said, this is the movie that really captivated Andy to want this toy. And if I was watching this, would I want a Buzz Lightyear toy after watching this? And that's kind of like how when Shay proposed, I'm like, yeah, that's right. Would I want a toy after watching this film? I don't know, because it wasn't that big bang I was expecting. And that's my expectations going in.
Sure. And it's also us looking at as adults too, right? Where we have kids who are just, if you were 5 years old watching this movie, we will probably felt different, right?
Right. If I had children, would my children want the Buzz from?
Would I buy this toy for them? No,
because I fell in love with him as a toy, and
yeah,
it's a different Buzz, right? Scenario, right? Another big thing for me was I was just on the tip of my tongue, and now I forgot. What is it? I forgot. I hate when that happens.
It's okay. If you think of it, jump back in. This film, we didn't get to watch it in IMAX, but I'm excited to watch it again in IMAX because this film is gorgeous. Mm-hmm. Like this film, when you were flying into space, you're just like, oh my god, this is beautiful. Please, Anthony, take over.
The story itself on like Buzz Lightyear being this stubborn, very focused, I need to fix this, really plays into his version of the character in Toy Story and how he has to get along with a group of people. It is very similar. And then, in the Toy Story, you got Woody, who's a little bit jealous, but this is the same kind of elements of the story where Buzz, he always works alone. So he has his team. The team is not the strongest. Like they're quirky characters, and I think Socks and him would have been on their own a great pair. I thought the other three just
pair of socks,
pair of socks. The other three add a lot of weight to him, and it just doesn't impact him because it's like, oh, we're a team now. It's just like, but this is your story, Buzz. Like we've been waiting a while. I guess I don't know if we've all been waiting, but we've been waiting for a Lightyear story, and it always takes place with a team. I wanted to really get a good idea of who he was and where he came from, because even like he talks about his past and how he got into the Space Ranger Corps, but you don't really see it. He's always been this. Is he a legend? I don't know if he's a legend. But in Toy Story, he is the legend. He is Buzz Lightyear. So there's so many things that happen with this story that you're trying to find. Is this the Buzz Lightyear story that I wanted? Or is it just too small scale at this point? Is it going to be, bigger in the future?
Yeah, it's interesting. I get it's a very similar vibe from this that I get from the Obi-Wan show, where it's like, here you are, you're having a sequel series or a prequel for Obi-Wan, but you're filling in a story gap something that we've known for like 30 years at this point, right? So you're filling in things where you're like, well, does this really line up with what were told? Or it's kind of creating its own kind of continuity and everything like that. We didn't really know much about the Lightyear movies in the Toy Story world, right? We only knew really about Buzz the character, but I like that this movie did a really good job of bringing those iconic lines that we would hear Buzz say. Like there seems to be no sign of intelligent life anywhere. Like just little things like that. Like if you're if you're a Toy Story fan, you're going to get a lot of that in here. And I at least like that, the team wasn't the strongest, but I at least like that Buzz kind of acknowledges that in the movie because he doesn't like rookies. All of them are rookies, and then he has to kind of learn how to work with them in a certain way. Which, but yeah, it's a very familiar story, but it's still a really fun story.
Maybe they just too humanized him.
Sure.
Maybe they went too extreme on that part because yes, he's Buzz Lightyear, and he just didn't seem like Captain America. Like because Captain America, when you look at him, he's not as humanized as Buzz. Like he's still a superhero. He's still like battling monsters and all that. But there is a human approach, but not to the extreme where we really felt like he was just this human guy who was a space ranger.
Right.
I hope that makes sense.
No, I get it. I totally get it. But I'm also trying to think like, would it have been as relatable, or would it have been as would it have been as much of a Pixar story if it was someone who was just more like, I am a superhero and there's nothing could do damage to me or stuff like that? Because we kind of gone that Buzz too in Toy Story 2, right? With the fresh Buzz out of the box, who was just very just like no, I am this, and you're like, it's a little like you can't really do too much with that or make a character that's as I think likable. So I'm curious where this goes now. Because do you guys think that? Do you think we'll see a sequel to Lightyear? Again, no spoilers for anything, but do you think we'll see this character return?
I think if you want to keep the Toy Story franchise alive, I mean, we had Toy Story 4 that kind of wrapped up Woody's story, and we kind of have that settlement there. I think now branching out and kind of showing the world of Toy Story is a great way to kind of keep that name still there. I'm surprised that we're kind of getting an entry into that world so soon after Toy Story 4. Because it just always felt like we had a big gap in between the films. So now to kind of get here, like, oh wow, okay, Lightyear, I'm excited to see if they do a Lightyear 2. It kind of seems like they're heading in that direction. But yeah, I'm down for it. It'd be really cool though if they did a Woody's Roundup for Disney Plus, because it already was a TV show. I think that'd be super sweet. But I'm not surprised if you go forward with Lightyear 2 or anything else in that realm. Maybe we'll get a Ham movie. Maybe we'll get a Mr. Potato Head movie. But I really don't think so. But I think Lightyear is kind of the way to move this world and franchise forward.
I like that. Let's get to our final recommendations for Lightyear. Anthony, I'm going to get you to start us off.
I'm going to recommend you watch this film. It's a very good film for the kids. Space adventures, a lot of action, fantastic animation, touching story at points. But overall, it's that Pixar that you've been waiting for that we haven't gotten a bit since Soul. Or we had Luca, but this one's a little bit different. So, yeah, definitely watch it.
It's crazy to think that this is the first Pixar film that we've seen in the theaters since Onwards. So we're over 2 years. Yeah. We haven't watched a Pixar movie in a theater, and it was nice to be to come back with this one. They all should be in theaters. Pixar movies deserve to be seen in theaters because they're just beautiful. Shay.
I'm going to say watch it as well. I mean, if you can watch this on the biggest screen possible to get all those different colors and visuals being thrown at you, please do that. I can't wait to watch this in IMAX myself because this movie feels like it was made for it. And I want to see that screen break. I want to see that aspect ratio just kind of get bigger and bigger. It was beautiful in AVX as well, which we have here in Cineplex. But yeah, definitely recommend watching it.
For myself, thank you for that, Shay. For myself, like both of you, it's a watch it. Since 1995, we've had this character in our lives, and I think this movie, deepens the Toy Story lore and it deepens the love that we've had of this character. So I hope we get to see him again. I hope we get to see more of the Space Ranger crew, and I think this is the best looking Pixar film that we've gotten to date, and it deserves to be seen in IMAX. So definitely go check it out, and I think you'll have a really great time. Bring your family because this is one that I think it's a great family adventure too. So I think there's a lot to take from it. Thank you so much again for listening to the Movie Podcast review of Lightyear. Don't forget, you can catch it in theaters this Friday, June 17th. Watch it in IMAX if you can. And as always, you can catch a brand new episode of the Movie Podcast every single Monday. Watch out throughout the week for review episodes, interview episodes, and reviews on all the latest movies and series. Make sure you follow us on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and Letterboxd at the Movie Podcast. Right into our show. Join our Discord. Do all of those lovely things, and you can check out our show notes for all of those links and more. That was This Time with the Movie Podcast, and we'll see you next.